teenager, was so obsessed with serial killers that she wanted to become one. She idolized and worshipped serial killers so much that at only 18 years old, she wanted to dedicate her life to becoming the most famous and prolific serial killer in all of history. This is a case from Germany, and due to Germany's strict privacy laws, a lot of information from today's case is actually missing, including the true identity of our killer. So we're just gonna call her Sarah. And Sarah, unlike most killers, actually had a pretty good childhood. She seemingly had really loving, supportive parents. She got good grades, she had a lot of friends, and then everything changed when she became a teenager. And you know, a bit of teenage rebellion is normal. Sarah started dressing in darker clothes, listening to heavier music, skipping school from time to time, but things were much darker than that. At only 16 years old, Sarah spread a rumor about herself at school that she was an S worker, like a lady of the night. And this wasn't true, but like Sarah's friends started to realize that Sarah was lying all the time. It seemed like she liked to shock people. She liked attention, even if it was negative attention. And actually really quick, because I just realized I forgot to say this in my intro, I know a lot of you guys have been asking me for more or longer content, especially if all of this goes away. So the second episode of Hot on the Case is out right now, and you can find all the platforms where you can find it on my profile. Now back to the case. It was around this time that Sarah got her first ever boyfriend, a boy named Leon, and the relationship was really intense, and Leon actually ended up breaking up with Sarah because he was scared of her, and for good reason, because as soon as he broke up with her, she started planning how she would kill him. At this point, Sarah's interests, her life had gotten so dark and disturbing. Sarah became obsessed with serial killers, and I'm not talking about an interest in true crime or being fascinated with psychology. Sarah worshipped these serial killers. She idolized them. She was crushing on them like some serial killer fangirl, especially Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. He was the background on her phone, and also she had posters of him and Ted Bundy covering her bedroom. And at this point, she's 17 years old to early 18 years old, and I'm just wondering what her family, her parents, think about all this. Sarah began fantasizing about becoming a serial killer, but Sarah didn't want to be any serial killer. She wanted to be the most famous and prolific of all time. Sarah wanted to have more victims than any other serial killer in history. And she began Googling how she was going to do that. She literally made a Google search that said, what is the best way to become a serial killer? So clearly she's no evil genius. In April of 2021, she bought a very large 12-inch sharp weapon and then began hunting for her first victims. Sarah signed up for a bunch of dating apps and sugar baby sites under the username Domina Cherry. Her bio on these dating sites was that she was a teen girl who had never slept with anyone before, but was also into really rough stuff. And she planned to meet a bunch of men this way because at this point she decided she really just hated men and wanted to kill all men after her breakup with Leon. And she planned to meet men this way and then lure them into a secluded area where she would end their lives. Because of the certain bio that Domina Cherry chose for her dating sites and her sugar baby sites, she started getting a lot of attention. She actually got over 220 messages from men on these sites in less than 3 days. Sarah had a date planned for May 3rd, May 4th, and May 5th, with the plan to kill each man on each date 3 days in a row. But her first victim that Sarah chose was a 39-year-old man named Zayed. And he messaged her on May 1st, and they planned to meet up that very night. Sarah had already told a handful of her friends about her plans to become this terrible serial killer, but right before she planned to meet up with Zayed, Sarah actually left a voicemail for one of her friends, a girl named Francesca, saying that she was about to kill her first one and to wish her good luck. And I know Sarah is known for being a liar at this point, but when Francesca gets that voicemail from Sarah, she doesn't go to the police, she doesn't tell anyone. All Francesca does is make a Google search of her own. Can I get in trouble if I know about a murder? The answer is yes. Zayed picked Sarah up around 8 p.m. and she directed him to a remote cabin that her family owned in the woods that actually did not exist. And once Sarah had Zayed turn onto like a secluded dirt road, she took out her 12-inch sharp weapon and plunged it into his neck. Zayed actually attempted to like fight off Sarah, and he was able to like hold his wound to stop the bleeding, and he just like took off. He ran towards the main road where a car stopped. They like helped him like a little bit because the person in the car was actually a nurse, and then they called the ambulance. The ambulance came and rushed him to the hospital. Meanwhile, Sarah is like also panicking, and she also ran away towards like the nearest town because Sarah didn't expect Zayed to like fight back. She just thought that he would automatically die. Sarah ran all the way to a nearby town, and she's looking completely disheveled. She's covered in blood, and she's just whispering to herself, "I'm a killer. I'm a murderer." So onlookers in the town called 911, obviously. Sarah was arrested and taken into police custody like 30 minutes after attacking Zayed. And I find it so funny, well, not funny because she's a killer, but you know what I mean, that Sarah wanted to be this like prolific serial killer that never got caught, and she was gonna have the most victims of any serial killer ever. And she got caught like 30 minutes later, like a half hour later. And I call Sarah a killer because although the hospital did as much as they could, the damage that Sarah did to Zayed was just far too much, and he did pass away surrounded by his family. And Zayed has definitely been scrutinized in his case for his decision to want to meet up with an 18-year-old girl. But Zayed's loved ones say that Zayed was a very good man. He was not the type to like look for hookups. And at the time of his death, he was looking for a long-term relationship and to settle down. And Sarah has never shown remorse once, and actually has only ever felt bad for herself because she got caught too early and didn't kill more men. And behind bars, Sarah actually tried to get her mom to kill her ex-boyfriend Leon because that was like her main target all along. Her mom said no, by the way. I don't think I made that clear. Her mom said she would not do that. And due to Sarah's young age, she received no prison time and was actually only sentenced to 12 years in a psychiatric hospital, and she could be released when she's 31 years old, which honestly really, really terrifies me because I think Sarah is a scary, scary girl and a danger to society. And as for Sarah's friend Francesca, who got that voicemail and knew that Sarah planned to kill Zayed, she was arrested and was facing 5 years in prison, but the charges were dropped. And that's all I have for today's case. Hope you guys all had a very happy new year, happy holidays, and I hope you guys know that you guys were truly one of the biggest blessings of my 2024. Make sure you guys all check out the second episode of Hot on the Case, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Love you.